Well, creative cuties, today you're in for a treat. Have you ever felt trapped in a life that didn't feel like yours? Called to another dream, but been afraid to leave the life of certainty and go into the unknown? Today's guest is not only a brilliant writer, but also one of my closest friends from high school. She will share with you how to prioritize your dreams over safety and jump into the unknown. Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Creative with Lauren LaGrasso. I'm Lauren LaGrasso, three-time Webby Award-winning podcast host and producer, singer-songwriter, speaker, and creative coach. This show lives at the intersection of creativity, mental health, self-development, and spirituality, and it is meant to give you tools to love, trust, and know yourself enough to release fear's grip on your life and go after whatever it is that's on your heart. Today's guest is Erica Peplin. Erica Peplin is the author of the brand new novel, Work Nights. It is a sharp, funny, and emotionally raw story about a frustrated office worker who is living in New York City, struggling with love, identity, and ambition. It's a book about what happens when you're close to your dream, but you're not quite living it. You're just looking into it, but you can't touch it. And the lengths we go in order to survive, express ourselves, and stay human in environments that ask us to forget or push down who we really are. I highly recommend the book. It's out now, so definitely grab a copy. And I related to all the characters and just how hard it is to find yourself, to find love, and to know what you're doing in your 20s. In addition to her book, Erica's work has also been featured in Joyland, The Millions, McSweeney's, The Village Voice, and more. And beyond being wildly talented, she's walked the walk, having worked everywhere from the New York Times advertising department to restaurants and custodial gigs, while never giving up on her calling of writing. From today's chat, you'll learn what it really takes to birth a novel, how to keep going when the creative process feels endless, how to let go of societal definitions of success, tips for writers, queer artists, and anyone on a non-traditional path. And you'll also get to hear from somebody who really shaped my own creativity growing up. Erica and I did so much theater together and just really had so many fun times together as kids. It's a personal and funny interview full of truth bombs, and I can't wait for you to meet her. Here she is, my friend and author, Erica Peplin. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, Erica, I am so thrilled to be here with you. First of all, just to catch up, because other than that one time when we were both home in Grosse Pointe during the pandemic and literally almost ran into each other running, I haven't seen you since high school, I don't think.
I know. So we are both from Michigan.
Yep.
Which means we are wholesome and hardworking people.
Yes.
And suburbanites who long for city life, who long for excitement. We had the same drive. It is what brought us together as friends. And then you went west and I went east. And then it's like the great divide can happen.
Yeah.
Because
it really can.
It can, because you went into a world that swallowed you up, and you were doing so many internships and learning about LA culture, LA work styles, LA people. Whereas I was doing the other side, where the East Coast thing, where I'm like, oh shoot, finance people, media, subway trains, like you learn a whole different world.
Yeah. It's totally a different world. And also it's weird. Even with social media, it's easy. We were very close friends, you know?
Oh,
but
absolutely.
It's like,
I would go to your house uninvited, I think.
Yeah. And it was great. Like, I mean,
Yes.
we have so many great memories. I still have pictures of you up in my childhood bedroom. Like when I go back, remember Colleen, close mutual friend?
The three of us, we were in a little gang.
We were a girl gang.
Yeah.
I loved it. But she made this really cute thing of like you, me, her, Johnny, and Paul. Johnny, who's been on the show for you listening, and Paul is Johnny's brother. And I still have that on my wall next to my childhood bed, which, by the way, hasn't changed since 1997. It's like the same exact decor. So it's pretty great. It's like a time capsule.
I want to see a picture of it.
Yeah. Well, next time we're both home, do you ever go home for Christmas?
Yeah, hell yeah. This Christmas.
Okay.
Let's see each other.
Okay. Let's do it. So I really wanted to have you on. Number one, just because you've written an amazing book and I read it, Work Nights.
Oh, thank you
so
much.
good.
Oh, you
Thank
got
you
it. Great.
for the copy.
Yeah.
I also bought it on audiobook, which was really fun to listen to. Also, just really wanted to catch up with you. And I think I think this is a really particularly interesting interview because you're somebody who really affected my creative life. Like we did theater together, and we did choir together, and you were always someone I admired so much as an artist. You just, from a very young age, had this really strong inner compass, but also voice. And my favorite thing about reading your book was how much I heard you in it.
Whoa,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool to hear. Thank you for saying that. I like it's I feel like a mess. Like, in behind the curtain of this, it feels really messy, uh, and hard. High school was hard. I mean, really fun. You made it fun, and our friends made it fun, and theater made it fun. But it was also really hard because you have 7 classes a day, and you're getting pulled in so many different directions, and we went to one of those high schools full of high achievers,
Mhm.
like the 4.0 types all going to U of M, Ann Arbor, and I just was like, "I don't think I'm smart enough for that. I gotta figure out something else to be good at." Cause yeah, I'm really bad at math. I'm pretty bad at science. My test-taking skills stink. Um, but then you and I would work on plays together, and we would act together, and like, doing theater in high school, it is cohesive, it collaborative, but also you end up thinking about storytelling and
Yeah.
taking it seriously and, thinking about characters and expressing potentialities through your body, when you're doing, like, theater. It's so dorky to say that, but didn't you feel that? It was true, like, we would embody people that we weren't, but it felt like we were testing out lifestyles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so much to break down from what you just said, but to go off of what you literally just said,
Yeah, what I just said.
I always felt like I got to, be parts of myself that I was repressing. So, like, I would
Mhm,
often play really mean characters, like,
mhm,
really awful or, like, wacky, which that was more like who I was,
mhm,
or really sexy characters. Remember, I
mhm.
was the prostitute, as you may remember.
Mm. Yes, that was one of your typecast roles.
One of my typecast roles. Of course, I had big
Yes.
boobs, so, like, that was probably part
Yeah.
of it, but I also think at that point, I was extraordinarily sexually repressed, and
Mhm.
so it was, like, this part of myself that I wasn't in touch with at that moment that I was
Yeah.
able to explore through the character, so yeah, you're so on.
Yes, absolutely. When I was in middle school, before we met, they cast me as Big Julie, one of the male gangsters
Yes.
in Guys and Dolls. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm playing a boy?" Like, and at first I was like, "Is that weird?" But then I got a suit. I got to wear a pinstripe suit. It was probably the best role of my life. It was
Honestly,
like
shout out to Big Jules.
yeah,
Forever
yeah,
in our hearts.
yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to say about what you said is how interesting it is, whether we're kids or now as adults, you never struck me as someone who is a mess. I always would see you and you were so embodied to me. And I was like, wow, she really knows who she is.
Wow.
And you came off as like in the best possible way. You didn't give a fuck. Like, you're like, I'm Erica. Here I am. This is my sensibility. Take it or leave it. And I'm just going to keep being myself. So that's how you came off to me. And I always thought you were really brilliant. Like, I never thought you struggled. I didn't realize you didn't
Wow.
feel like you were good at school.
Well, thank you. I hope that's still true and that I seem like cool and I don't care what people think, but of course I care what people think. We all care. But thank you. I don't know what your question was. No,
It wasn't really a question. It was more of an
yeah,
observation that it's just interesting
yeah.
that people oftentimes see us differently and more beautifully than we're able to see ourselves.
Yes. I think when I was around you and around Colleen and around our friends, I felt the best because we would just
Mm.
goof around and laugh. And I was at my best. But I think it's those moments where you're in bed at night on a Sunday night and you're kind of dreading school the next day and you eat too much at dinner and then your mom's yelling at you about something stupid and our brains just our prefrontal cortexes are just not formed at age 16. So like
Yeah.
I didn't know how to manage stress, but Luckily we but luckily I had people like you to make high school worth it and
Mm.
laugh with. Just to laugh with you guys was the best.
So much fun.
Mhm.
How do you deal with stress today? Like, how do you manage that, like, social stress of feeling like, I don't know where I stand with people. I don't know, if I'm doing the right thing. How do you manage that?
I think I had a major shift happen in my life, which is I went away to school. I started studying English literature and I started discovering a passion in college, and that was actually for books. I moved away from theater, from acting. I didn't wanna be an actor. I didn't wanna be a plaything. I didn't wanna be a puppet. I wanted to read books and, like, learn as many words as I could. I fell in love with certain authors, and having a dead author feel like your friend is such a special experience.
Yeah.
Where and I understand why there's, like, a cultish following around Sylvia Plath, Virginia Woolf, so many great writers where you're like, they get me, they know me, I'm inside their head. And then I started to long for that creative release, which I think writing brings. Words bring it more so to me than like a big theater production, a big film production. Cause I wanted to go into theater, film, I want to do something big, but I realized that I don't actually want to work with people and that on that scale and have a big budget and have to be responsible for other people, to have to tell other people what to do. I love writing because it's waking up maybe a little earlier than you're used to, opening your computer up and just writing. And and you're the only person who has to worry about it and you have time to edit it and you can make it better, and in a way, it feels like you're talking back to all those authors you used to love. So this is all to say that I do feel like finding something I loved very much changed my life. That was awesome. I had amazing professors in college. I fell in love with reading. I graduated. I went to New York City with no job, and I just took the first job I could find. I started working in the city, and slowly, I think those were insecure years because I only had one friend in the whole city, and I would long for her company. I'd be like, "Please see me." And she had a girlfriend. And I don't know if you know
Oh,
this, but when a lesbian has a girlfriend, they disappear. It is so hard to hang out with friends who are in love. So I
yeah.
was like, "All right, I guess I'll go to this party by myself." And I did. I was like, I got nothing to lose. And I feel like I cut my teeth doing stuff like that. You're just like, all right, I guess I'll just walk into this bar full of cool looking hot people in my like dorky kind of Midwestern clothes and I'll like learn what they wear and learn how they talk. And like I adapted to that setting in my 20s. And now I'm 35. So Lauren, I'm not nervous anywhere. Like I don't, it's like if I'm nervous, it's like, oh, this is so fun. I'm nervous. But it like doesn't even happen. It feels like it's gone. I don't know.
So, okay, wait, I actually don't even know where you went to college. Where did you go to college?
I started at DePaul University. I went there for
Okay.
2 years, and that's where I got into reading, and I got really into school, and then I transferred because DePaul was just a little too big. I felt a little lost in the city, there, and I didn't like the cold, so I went to a small women's college called Agnes Scott College it's just outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, nice. How do you
Yeah.
like the cold now in New York?
I hate it. I try to escape it as much as I can. I'm often
Yeah.
flying to Mexico City in the winter. Just to
Ooh,
get out.
oh,
Yeah.
let me join you. I actually have
You
always
should.
wanted to go there. I hear it's a very inspiring place to go.
It is. I get most of my writing work done there.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
I'm in. I'll come visit. So let's take it back because you moved to New York with no job, knowing
Yeah.
no one. What caused you to do that? And what would be your advice if somebody's in a similar stage of life and they're like, I'm going to just go for it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I need to be in this one particular place.
Do it. Trust your gut. Listen to it. If you want to try out New York, try it out. You don't have to rent an apartment or sign a lease, right? When you move there, you can do what I did, which is get a sublet because people in New York City often are out of town for months at a time and they have furniture and they have a room and they just want someone to live in their room. And so that's what I did. I sublet someone's room for 3 months, and it just bought me enough time to check out the neighborhood, try to get a job, and it just felt better than, like, signing a lease, which can be like, "Oh my god, so much money." So I
Yeah.
recommend subletting. Um, yeah.
And so, like, how did you do it? Did you have any fear or did you just not think about it?
I had fear. Well, what's bittersweet is at 22, I definitely still felt homesick sometimes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. I think delayed adolescence of millennials is so real. Because I remember my first apartment, the one that I sublet, was behind an elementary school, and so when I was unemployed, I was reading Anna Karenina, like, lying in this, like, stranger's bed, and I would hear the kids playing in the elementary school, and, like,
Oh.
the sound of kids playing, it would just sometimes make me cry because it was, like, beautiful, but, like, it reminded me of childhood in a way that was, like, suffocating, and I really missed, like, stability and security of, like, home. It was a hard moment at time.
Yeah, I so relate to that. Like, I would just drive around and there were 2 things I would do. I would, like, go down the I was gonna say the 696. No, I would go down the 5 and, like, drive down the 5 freeway and pretend like I was on 696, and I would listen to
Mhm,
this, like, the reason I got into radio was because I was homesick. There was this guy who was from Detroit who had a radio station on, Sirius XM, and I would listen to him, and he'd talk about Detroit things, and I would just pretend like I was back home. And then I would go into generic stores like CVS and pretend
mhm,
like it was back in Michigan.
mhm,
So, like, for, like, 15 minutes, I'd be shopping for my eye makeup remover and being like,
mhm,
"Oh, I'm just at the Village right now, like,
mhm.
getting this Almay product."
Absolutely, I can relate to that.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's like walking around with, like, a slightly broken heart all the time. So, you moved to New York, you sublet, you eventually end up getting a job at the New York Times in the advertising department.
Yeah, not right away. I started in the advertising department of CNN, and I was the lowliest lowly assistant you could ever want, and I knew nothing about corporate life. I had not taken a single class in business, and it's a miracle they hired me. I think I'm blonde and, like, blue-eyed, and so if I smile at you in a business room, in a conference room, it looks like, "Oh, she's official." It's like kind of like, when you're 22, you have this, like, pretty girl privilege, and I don't know, I feel like I tricked them into hiring me, and, quickly I realized I didn't even know how to use email. They had to tell me, "When you respond to people, you have to hit reply all." And I was like, "But that's so many people on the email. I don't even know these people." Like, it was so hard to even, like, nerve-wracking to hit reply all and be like, "Okay, boss," I would just be so nervous to communicate in an office. Everyone was so pretty and polished, and, many of most of them were engaged or
Oh.
married and had kids, and it just felt like, "Wow, this is a pipeline to the nuclear life."
It's so interesting because, like, you said something that reminded me of Martin Scorsese, I never know. And, there's another thing you said, which is, like, write about here, I wrote it down from another interview. Take notes. Oh, you should write about what makes you feel strongly. It reminds me of what he says about the most personal is always the most creative. And also the other thing he says is, like, he recently started doing emails. He's like, "Who are all these people? These people on CC? It's scary."
Yeah, yeah, it's scary.
So
Yeah.
basically, you're like, the queer female version of Martin. So,
Wow.
Marty.
Yeah.
But okay, so tell me, so you end up, like, doing that job for a while,
Mm.
and eventually you quit. And how did you
Yes.
finally get up the courage to quit? Because what I loved, I read this other interview you did where you talk about that time period, and you said, I felt like I was suffering more privately then because I had so many things on the surface that I thought I should want: a salary, health benefits, a full time job. But it was wearing on my soul because I had this other calling. There's so many people out there right now who are in a similar position, who are in a corporate job or just in a job in general that they don't like and that they know there's this other thing out there for them. But there's so much conditioning in our culture to go toward quote unquote security. How did you let that go, let go of what your parents wanted for you, what you felt society wanted for you, and finally answer the call of your own soul?
I am so lucky that I loved writing. I think I found a thing that I love to do, and I felt work, my corporate job where I had to be there at 9 or 10 AM. it was infringing on my ability to do something that I loved. And so after a while, you know what's funny? I did apply to grad school. I thought grad school would be my escape hatch because I thought I'm 27 or I'm 26. What a perfect time to go to grad school because you had your professional experience. You can reflect on it, and then you can go back into the bubble of academia and study and read your books. So I studied for the GRE. I did the whole grad school application thing. And then it was like rejected, 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 rejected. I get rejected by every single grad school. And I was like, whoa, okay. So something about rejection and hitting kind of a low point in life really teaches you what do you. Oh, I know. We used to also play this game, this like lottery game. Like, if you won the lottery, what would you do? My answer was always I would quit and I would fly to Berlin and I would write. And then one day, right when I got rejected from all the grad schools, I realized, you know what? I don't need to win the lottery to do that. I have enough saved. I think I had probably like $25,000 saved by then. It was enough.
That's
You know,
awesome.
my plane ticket, yeah, because I saved money. I am a saver. That's, I think in the back of my brain, I always knew this office thing wasn't going to be for me. So I never took cars anywhere. I really tried not to go out to dinner too much. And I was a big saver. I'm still a saver. I'm always preparing for like, what if I'm unemployed for a year but I still want to write? Okay, let's try to make that possible.
So smart. What are your saving tips? Because I think that can be
Yeah.
really, really difficult. Like when you are still working so hard to like then take extra money and put it away. Like how do you think about saving? And are you saving in just like a normal savings account or do you have
Mhm.
like a Roth IRA? Like what's your
I did look I luckily I have an older brother who taught me how to have a Roth IRA like 5 years ago, so I did do that. But then before then I just had my savings account and I would just put money away week after week. I really lived quite in like a monk-like aesthetic like lifestyle at times. Um, I don't know. I think that's just a personality trait of mine. I pretend to be hedonistic and I like to write characters who are very hedonistic and who spend lots of money and take cars and drink too much alcohol and stay out all night and blow money on all sorts of ridiculous things. But in truth, I'm a saver. But the tips to save, think more about what you'll get with the money you save. Like whether it's a trip or time to write, make that more valuable to you than all those like, I don't know, $8 smoothies you buy every single day. Like maybe have two smoothies a week or one smoothie a week. I don't know.
yeah. Keep your
Yeah, but
smoothies to a minimum for God's
yeah, for
sake.
God's sake, or like get a blender. Like you could make that.
Oh,
You can make
love a
that at
blender.
home. Get
You
a
know what
freaking
though?
blender.
I will say this is a good I know that a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's not about the lattes, it's like we live
Yeah,
in a society." So like there's that part too that it's like the
yeah,
society that we live in isn't fair and isn't increasing wages the way it should be.
yeah,
And also like they also say that like women are always told like stop spending so much whereas men are
yeah,
like build, grow, do it,
yeah,
invest. So like
yeah,
those are like so we have to acknowledge that. But I will say little things do add up. And my fiance and I got a fancy coffee machine which we actually were able to get as a gift, but even if we had paid money for it, you still end up saving in the long run by having coffee at home every single day. Like I never get coffee unless like I'm already out or like I'm
yeah,
on a trip or something because I make such good coffee. Like I call myself the local barista.
yeah. Please, you make it. You're the local barista.
Honestly, I could see myself. Do you ever like envision different lives for yourself? Like I love what I do, but I'm like I think I could be happy doing so many things. Like I
Hmm.
could be happy having my own very small coffee shop and like playing music there and then like having other local artists come in. Like I have like these whole visions for like other lives I could do in tandem with this one or after this one. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you could still do it. You might do it.
Yeah, I know. I love
Yeah, I could
that.
see
I
that.
love thinking my life can change. I think it's
You
so
would.
inspiring.
It will, and your life will change.
So you actually fly to Berlin and do this? You write
Yeah,
in Berlin?
yeah.
For how
I was
long?
like, I got nothing. I got nothing holding me back. My apartment. the rent was going up, my roommate was moving out. I was like, I don't even have that many possessions. I
Yeah.
had cheap, broken IKEA furniture that I inherited from someone. So that was all broken. And I was like, you know what? I just need to say goodbye to all this. And I put books in a box in the basement of my apartment building. And I was like, okay, when I come back, I think these books will still be here. But I didn't tell anyone that I was leaving in there. I just was like, no one goes in this cobwebbed basement. I'll just leave these books here. So I did. I left books and I flew away. I really like got rid of everything.
Hashtag monk life. You really did it.
Monk life, yeah, I did. And then it was awesome to live there for 2 months. And it was actually really hard in the beginning because I had only ever had a full-time job out of college. I'd worked every single 5 days a week. So it was waking up on a Monday morning and having nowhere to be. It was actually a pretty bad feeling initially.
Yeah, so talk about that because everybody talks about, oh my gosh, I had so much freedom on the other side. I achieved my dream on the other side. I was so successful. There
Mhm.
is a thing where when you leave something that was highly structured, where sometimes
Mhm.
you just like, even if you kind of know what to do, you just don't know what to do because you are
Mhm.
so used to having a place to report to or a thing to do. How did you make that transition from like feeling like, oh, this doesn't actually feel that good to, oh, I'm my own boss and I can like give myself writing hours and that is my work?
Took a long time to get there because it is jarring to wake up and realize, wait, now I have too much time and I only know 2 people in Berlin and I'm lonelier than I've ever been in my entire life. Okay, where do I go? I guess I'll go to a coffee shop. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to write. What do I write about? I literally spent like 2 weeks in Berlin just writing about people at this one coffee shop that I'd go to every morning. And I only went to this coffee shop because it was cheap and it was like a chain and no one cool was there. Like, Berlin is so cool. I found the one coffee shop in Berlin, it was, like, male ladies, like, old smokers, like, carpenters in their, like, big overalls would come in, covered in, like, works gear, and, I was like I would just write about their lives, but it was hard to, like, find your voice, find something you wanna write about. It took a few weeks, but I finally started to, like, meet young people, and then I wrote about them, feeling like it was so revelatory. But little did I know that's, like, kind of cliche to just go to Europe and, like, write about the crazy people you meet there, it was good. It was, like, a different form of grad school, and it was great for me. It worked for me, but I was happier not going to my job, I felt free. So I would veer between feeling ecstatic because I'm riding a bike in Berlin at 2 in the morning and I'm going to a club, like, you have these highs of freedom, but then you wake up the next morning hungover and you're like, "I'm alone in the universe and I have a hole in my stomach and sadness is pouring through my body." So it's these, like, highs and lows. So, I wouldn't wanna go back to that time.
I know. I mean, I still have times like that, but they're not as much as they were during my 20s. The 20s are
Yeah.
I wish there was better preparation for how turbulent they are. It's just I thought it would be like Friends, the
Yeah.
television program.
Totally.
Yeah, no. It was so hard.
Yeah.
I felt like I failed, like, almost every day I felt like I was failing.
No, Friends is your comparison of this Friends is, like, it woke something up for me because I feel like it would be Friends sometimes, but then I feel like at the end of every season, it was canceled and you'd have to start over with,
Yes,
like, new
new
settings and
friends.
new friends. It was hard. First seasons are hard.
I was promised a two-bedroom apartment and,
Yeah.
purple walls, and I did not get that.
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah. So, okay, is that in Berlin where you started writing work nights?
I had the idea for work nights in Berlin, but I was too nervous to start it.
Oh, tell me about that.
I think we need to talk about how when you are creative, there's also sometimes a really long period where seeds have been planted, but they're underground. And you need water and time for anything to come up. It could be months or years, but I needed to wait at least a year until I could even start writing what became work nights. And I, to this day, haven't no explanation other than I needed a year just to live and process my new sort of reality in my new life, because I did move back to New York after 2 months, and I got a part-time job. I wanted to commute to work by foot because that was very important. I was like, "No more spending 2 hours on the train every day. I wanna walk to work. I wanna work part-time. I wanna work afternoons, and I wanna spend my mornings writing." And so I had new priorities. My parents hated it. They were like, "You don't have health insurance and you're working part-time? Like, what is that? You're supposed to be saving." And I'm like, "Saving for what, though?" I wasn't happy. So what's the point of saving for a life that I wanna live a life I actually want.
And it's so hard because, I mean, I read the article. I don't remember what the publication was called, but it was one between you and your dad.
Mhm.
What was that one?
It was from this place, Pride Source Media. They do, like, LGBTQ stories.
It was so sweet. I mean, it was
I'm so
I
happy.
cried reading it. I loved it. I actually sent it to John and he says hi.
Oh.
I was like, "You have to read
Oh,
this article about Erica. It's so good."
love Johnny.
Um, but clearly your parents and like especially in that article, your dad is so proud of you. But like it's hard when you really love your parents and you want to make them proud. And you also know like you can't keep just shoving down your own inner compass, but, like, that tension, it can eat at you, and I loved how it came out in the book, like, I don't know, I'm sure I shouldn't have done this, but I pictured you as the main character.
You should do that. You can
I
totally
pictured
do
you and
that.
I pictured
Yeah.
your parents, and I
Yeah.
was like because I figured, like, some of those conversations also felt really familiar to me of ones I've had with my dad of, like or your mom, like, that you're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I wanna go off and do this, I'm gonna quit and go to Berlin." That's what the character said in the book. And
Mhm.
they're like, "What do you mean? You have healthcare. You need to save." I mean, it was like basically exactly
Mhm.
what you just said. And it's like so many artists have that weighing on them. And I just so appreciated that you brought it through in such a authentic way.
Thank you. Yeah, Jane is an alter ego of sorts, so I invite some level of comparison to my life. There are some similarities between us. Jane is an office worker. She is doesn't even feel like she's good at her job, but it's all she knows. She's had this job since college, and the book is kind of like her slow, like, super late coming of age in your late 20s where you kinda have this, like, second adolescence where you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna come of age on my terms." And on my terms, I want my next journey to be the unknown. I just don't want this office life. So I feel like the book is about that journey, and yeah, the parents are nice people. They're liberal, they're supportive, they supported their daughter in college, they're proud of that she works in an office, but yeah, sometimes you gotta upset your parents or not always please them.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important to not live your whole life for someone else, whether it's your parents or anyone. And okay, let's just talk about like the birthing process of this book because like you said, it was a years long process. So you kind of I look at it as like you were metabolizing that experience in the office, your early 20s, early to mid 20s, really stepping into this era of like I am a writer and I'm going to be doing this. Then you started on that book about a year in. What was the timeline and process of starting or having the idea to selling it? Because I know it was a long journey and I think it's important to share it.
Yeah, so I had this idea for an office novel. I took some notes at my office job and I met so many interesting people and I witnessed a lot of interesting things at the New York Times. I want to write a story about work. So at first I thought it was just going to be a book about office life because that was the huge, most fascinating life experience I'd had up to that point in my life. I wanted to write about the way that I thought office life would be awesome, and then I did it, and then I was like, "Oh, this isn't quite for me." So I wanted to write about that, and then I think as I had people read the book, including not that many, I had a girlfriend who read it, I had a best friend of mine read it, and then I finally had this, like, person in the publishing industry that was roommates with my friend read the
Hmm.
book. And they told me essentially, "We love Jane, we love her life in the office, but we wanna know about her friends. We wanna know about her love life. We wanna know about her family." And I was like, light bulb moment. Whoa, novels are novels because they contain worlds. they're not just one plot. You can't just be like, it's an office novel. It's about an office. Because people are like, no, because people exist in a web of relations. So then
Yeah.
it was like, oh, okay. So I'm going to start crafting her life with her friends. I'm going to start crafting the side that she shows her family. And then she's also in a love triangle. And like the book is pitched as a love triangle novel because she is obsessed with this girl at her office job. This girl becomes the only reason she even wants to go into work. But this girl's flighty and unreliable. She's like the one that you can't have. And then she
Hmm.
also meets this other artist. She is a real artist. She's a musician. She's responsible. She lives she's a very mature. She takes care of her apartment and she's ready to nurture Jane and love Jane. And Jane is like, what? I'm 26. I'm not ready for that. I don't even know how to communicate. So she's at once in that, like, I'm not mature enough to be with the mature person, but I'm also too mature. I don't know. Like, she's in a messy situation.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like the book was really triggering, I'll be honest, because it was
Yes.
amazing because you wrote the characters, they were real people. They really were, like that. This book has such like juicy, amazing, like real characters who are like full human beings. And I really related to Jane. I related to Laurel. I feel like a hybrid Jane Laurel. But it was so interesting to see. I just learned about this new attachment style called disorganized attachment, which basically means like when you're with somebody who's anxiously attached, you can become avoidant. And when you're with someone who's avoidant, you can become anxious. And I
Hmm.
really am like, oh, Jane, I think maybe is that
Hmm.
because, Madeline,
Yeah, Madeline, whatever. You can
she
say Madeline.
reminded me of like the fuck boys of my youth. And I just like reading her made me so mad. I just wanted to like find her and punch her. But I also got why she got Jane so good. Like she got her
Hmm.
so good. And then, yeah, Addie, Addie, right?
Hmm.
That was the artist, singer,
The mature
songwriter,
one. Yeah,
the
she's a
mature one.
musician.
Something
Hmm.
you should know about me, Erica, is I will watch an entire TV show, like multiple seasons long, and never know anybody's names.
I'm the same
Just so
way.
you know.
Yeah.
So I wrote down the people, but I wanted to make sure I was saying it right. So yeah, Addie, like, and there have been times in my life where like there was such a nice guy and I could have gone for him, but I didn't. But then I also loved that she was multi-layered in that like she had some issues too. And she was like, she could be insecure in love because she gave so much.
Hmm.
So anyway, all that's to say, and then The Office, oh my gosh, it was it was so real to office experiences I've had in corporate America, and like kind of just feeling like you're an observer. And I feel like a lot of times when I was working in corporate America, I was like, this isn't my real life. Like, this is my
Hmm.
fake life. But what was so cool about the book is the office time and the work time, even if you didn't, I'm not sure like what percentage of time was given to each slot of life, but it felt like it took up everything, even though for Jane, it very much felt like not her real life.
Yeah. It's not Jane's real life, but because she lives in New York away from her family, the office becomes a stand-in for a family.
Yeah.
So I feel like her relationship to her coworkers are sibling-esque because she's annoyed by them, but she also loves them at
Yeah.
times and knows them really well and eats lunch with them every day. So it's like the family you eat with. So I love the coworkers. Yeah,
He's
Tom, her
he's
boss.
so sweet.
He's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the office is full of good people. So that's why I try to also show that no experience is all good or all bad.
Yeah. It's very true. But okay, I know that you went through a lot, like getting your agent, and then she pitched the book and it got rejected. And there was a
Mhm.
period of time where you're like, I just don't think this is going to happen.
Mhm.
How did you emotionally move through that and not lose your passion for writing or belief in this book during that time?
Because I believe that failure is interesting. Like, it's so interesting to be rejected and to feel like a loser. I think people who feel like losers actually see a lot. they can see things really clearly and they can feel things really clearly because they're not in the winner's circle. They're not just laughing all the time and smiling all the time because there is a level of unseeing that happens when you're just happy all the time. But when you're a little beaten down by the world, it's almost like a coping mechanism is to observe, to make art. So, like, when I thought this novel was rejected by publishers, yes, I cried. But then 2 days later, when I wiped my eyes, I was like, "You know what? I have me. I have me. I like my writing. It gives me joy, and I'm gonna write an even better book, and it's gonna be about." Like, I was more determined than ever to write. It's like how that still happens to me now, like, if I submit a short story to a journal and they'll reject it, it stings for exactly 5 minutes, and then I'm back at my computer editing it, or I'm back writing a different story. Like, I think that, like, getting rejections is, like, the best fuel for working. So, really, I'm grateful that I thought the book failed because I started to write another book. Like, I spent 6 months
Mm.
working on a new book, and now that book is actually farther along than ever, so thank God I got rejected initially.
Is that level of resilience you have something that you feel is innate or something that you've
Mm.
learned or consciously chosen?
Combination of all those things. I'm so inspired by people in this world who have made things, and if you read those people's stories, there's also a lot of failure and rejection in those people's stories, so paying attention to just how people create and knowing that failure and rejection is a part of it is just, like, something I always kept in mind.
I just think it's really fascinating because in over 350 episodes, I've never had anybody describe failing as interesting.
Oh, it's so
I
interesting.
wanna know more about that. What does that mean?
Well, I think emotion like, when I feel strong emotions, I find that interesting. So, like, when I'm fired up and I'm mad at this journal for rejecting me, and then I go to a bar and I see an author who her book got published, and then I'm, like, kinda mad at her, and I just got so many emotions roiling inside me. That's an interesting life experience to have. It gives you stuff to write about.
So you use it as fuel and further
Fuel.
inspiration.
Yeah, fuel, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wow, yeah." It's just inspiration. I'm just curious about the life experience I'm having. I don't want life to be easy. That's so boring.
I just also love that you didn't let it deter your love of writing at all. You were like, "Okay, 2 days later, new book coming out."
Yeah.
Because I think
Yeah.
so many people, like, what I look at my early 20s of I did pursue acting, like, the first couple years I was out here, and I look back on it, I'm like, "I thought I failed. I didn't fail. I actually just rebranded disappointment as failure, and I couldn't stomach the disappointment. I had 0 tolerance for it." And I do think in that instance, it was good because I didn't love acting more than I hated being rejected, which I think is
Mhm.
telling because, like, it was too painful to keep going. Whereas there have
Mhm.
been many other things, whether it's like music or even hosting or whatever it is, that I've maintained my love through rejection. Part of that is I was older, but I think yeah, like how if somebody out there right now is feeling like a failure, feeling like a loser, and struggling to be interested by it,
Mhm.
what would your advice be to them on how to like see if this is really a thing they love or if it's time to maybe move on from it?
I think people need to, like, find the thing they love to do that they don't need other people's approval for. So, I loved writing with or without people's approval, and I think that's why I it was the thing I was meant to just continue doing.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, let's dive a little bit more into the book. I'm going to tell you my
Sure.
favorite quote.
Please.
This made me laugh out loud. We kissed tentatively at first, like colonial women. I wrote, so Erica. I'm like, I feel like this is literally something I would have heard come out of you when we were in high school.
Oh, I'm
Um,
happy.
yeah, like how tell me about infusing your own humor into your writing. It's just so natural.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that line specifically because when I hear that line, I'm like, "Oh, I hear my love of Kristen Wiig in the movie Bridesmaids, where she, I forget, she ingests something to be on the plane.
Yeah.
Like, she gets really high, and she grabs the flight attendant's microphone, and she's like, "There is a colonial woman on the wing of the plane." And, like, I just died when that movie came out. I love that line. I love her. I love her so much. So I feel like what I did was I put the words colonial women in my brain. That's like funny words. I feel like I'm actually not as funny. Yeah, I don't identify as a funny person. I just like listen to the world and I write what people say because I think people are funny.
Wow, that's so interesting. I have always thought of you as a funny person.
Oh, yay.
Yay. Oh,
I don't think
yay.
that.
I
I'm
relish
so
that.
s Lauren, I'm serious. I'm very serious. I wake up in the morning and I read a book with a frown. I'm like, "Who in the
Oh.
world?" You know, I have deep thoughts, but then I think I use humor to dispel all of my neuroses and anxieties and sadnesses, and it's just the best medicine.
Yeah, I mean, this book was really emotional. Like, it made me feel a lot of feelings, but it was also deeply funny. Like, I LOL'd a couple times.
Thank God. I'm so happy. I hope this book makes people laugh.
Yeah, it does. I want to talk about that. You said like kind of like take in through osmosis everybody else's humor. You also said in this interview I watched, you take notes on what makes you feel strongly. Is that
Mhm.
something that you still employ with your creative technique today? Like, do you keep like a
Definitely.
running list in your notes app?
Yeah, I'm not in New York right now, and I was just in the airport, and my girlfriend pointed this out. I'll give her credit because we saw one of you know how, like, when you're an older person, you need help sometimes getting around the airport? He was being pushed around by an attendant, and they were picking out what food that this man wanted to eat at a touch screen, and the attendant was like, "Okay, do you want a burger? What do you want?" And it was, like, very tender to see this, like, older man interacting with a stranger in this, like, airport environment, but then it was also achingly sad because we were both like, "Wow, it'd be so sad to get to that age where you need help getting around, but you have to rely on strangers." So I just, like, put that in my brain as, like, "Wow, I really feel something because of this moment and seeing this." So I'm like, I wrote that down in a notes app, just like, wow, I really felt something in that moment. I have no idea if or when I'll ever do anything with it, but I'm really glad that I felt something and I wrote it down.
And when do you pull on those things? Do you consciously go in and say like, I'm going to look at my notes app today? Or is it just like, oh, I remember this one thing I wrote down, or both?
You know, yeah, truly, Lauren, sometimes you actually don't have to write stuff down. I think people just need to trust their memory as creative people. Memory is a great organizer so that when we remember our senior year of high school, sometimes we remember 10 moments. And those 10 moments we remember are actually the 10 moments worth evoking in a narrative. It's like the moment I'm making this up, but like I walked into my best friend's room and I blah, blah, blah. You know, like those moments are story. So our brains point us toward what should be talked about. So
Mm.
sometimes I take all these notes and Lauren, I don't even look at them.
I love that.
They feel good in the moment to write down because 'cause I'm like, "Wow, life's passing so quickly, I wanna write everything down." But then I think some days I'm like, "God, Erica, stop taking notes, like, you have too many.
I
Just stop."
know.
Just yeah.
Sometimes I get mad I can't remember every single thing that's ever happened to me. So
Oh, yeah.
I like your point of view because it's much more forgiving of memory. I'm like, I don't know, I wish I was one of those people that remembered everything because I'm like, what if I have to write a memoir someday and I don't remember my life?
Okay. The person who remembers everything is gonna write the most boring memoir ever.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't interesting enough for you to remember, why do you think it would be
Yes.
interesting enough for someone else to read?
Yes. Like, I
Okay.
feel like our memories are these little editors in our head, and they're already
Yeah.
telling us what we should work on or talk about.
Oh man, now I feel so much better. Okay. I'm no longer going to feel bad about not remembering every moment of my life.
Totally.
Um what is your writing process like today? I know you mentioned like you go away to like Mexico City. I know
Mhm.
you then that one time went to Berlin. Like,
Mhm.
what is it like day to day, or do you usually go take yourself on these writing retreats to get a lot of stuff done?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both because I do work part-time in a restaurant, and so I work nights, and that does leave my mornings open for writing, so I do maybe an hour, 2 hours of writing or editing, mostly editing. Editing is so is most of what I do, I feel like, because it's easy to write. It's actually hard to edit.
Yeah.
Um,
Brutal.
yeah. So I feel like some days I'm just like, okay, edit for an hour and then you're done. So I have these like shorter increments of work and then I go on and work at my job or see friends. So I'm always working on something, but then having a getaway for 2 months of the year where I'm by myself a lot. I've started doing it with my girlfriend, but she knows that I wake up early and I'm probably not going to want to like socialize until 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. And then maybe I'll even go back to work after we take a walk or eat lunch. So I'll have like longer days to work on a novel. Yeah, and it's great. That's why restaurant work is good because we slow down in the winter. It's slower in January, February. And if you're a good worker and you tell your boss in advance, like, hey, I'm a good worker. I'll be back in March, but I need to take these 2 months off. They will let you.
Yeah.
And they always have. My restaurants always let me come back.
I love that.
Mhm.
And tell me about finding out your book actually got published. And then part 2 of the question, which I can ask again later, but would be like what it feels like with it being out in the world.
So finding out it got published was just the best day of my life, Lauren. The best day. Like I was by myself on a walk. It was sunny. It was May in New York City. I was near the park and I had just run into a friend of mine and she was with friends. She's like, I'm going to the park to play badminton. Do you want to play? And I was like, actually, yeah. Walked to the park. We were playing badminton, laughing. And I got an email on my phone from my agent and it said, hey, like, good news. Like we got this offer that someone wants to buy your book. And I happen to have a disposable camera with me and I'm very like capital R romantic. I love to like memorialize every sacred moment. It's so annoying, but I
So
handed
cute.
my disposable camera to my friend and I was like, "Don't ask me why, but please take my picture." And she did. So I have this like moment like right after I read the email where I'm just like sitting in the grass like grinning and I love that.
Then tell me, do you have that framed, by the way?
No way. It's actually, like, in my closet. I'm kind of embarrassed
Oh
about
my
it now, but
gosh.
I'm glad it
It's so
exists.
sentimental. I feel like I want a copy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love to see the look of somebody's dream coming true.
Yeah,
It's my
yeah,
favorite look. And then tell
yeah.
me about it being out in the world. Like you said earlier, it was just so beautiful. You're like, I achieved my dream. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, Erica. You
It's a
achieved your
dream.
dream.
I did. I did. I feel so calm right now.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, isn't it crazy your book came out?" And I'm like, "I feel calmer than I ever have in my life." Because it's like, "Wow, this thing I worked toward for 7 years and I gave up security and a full-time job for, hard work actually paid off." And there was a time when I thought hard work didn't pay off. I thought I was rejected and I thought I had just wasted my time. And like, wow, Erica, like I'm just like shocked. And then it's also just, I love books so much and I love authors. And so when my book was getting rejected, it hurt a lot too because I was like, wow, the love of my life is literature and literature rejected me. And that was what stung the most. And so the fact that literature did end up accepting me and then I'm on a shelf, like my last name's Peplin, and so I'm like not too far from like Tori Peters, who's another PE author. Like, so even when I just see our names close, I'm like, whoa, I'm on a shelf with Tori Peters, or things like that where like I just want to be surrounded by like my book is like friends with all these other writers. And like, wow, that's real life right there. All these,
Yeah.
like, friends on a shelf. I don't know, I love it. I'm not over it at all.
Never get over it. That's what makes
No.
it beautiful. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks to my guest, Erica Peplin. To learn more about Erica, follow her at Erica Peplin and visit her website, ericapeplin.com. Make sure to grab a copy of her debut novel, Work Nights, wherever good books are found. It's really a must-read for anybody who feels like they're stuck between the life that they're living and the life they desire. Unleash Your Inner Creative is hosted and executive produced by me, Lauren Lagrasso, edited by Blondell Garcon, with theme music by the fabulous Liz Full. Thank you again, my sweet creative cutie, for being here. If you liked today's episode, if it touched your heart, if it lit a fire in your creative soul, please take a moment to rate, review, and follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. This really helps the show grow. Also, tell a friend about the show. The biggest influencers in our lives are our friends and family. That makes a huge difference. And if you like the show, post about it on social media. Tag me at Lauren Lagrasso and at Unleash Your Inner Creative, and I will repost to share my gratitude. My wish for you this week is that you dare to dream and remember that those dreams matter, that you don't need to wait until everything is perfect to begin, and to give yourself permission to step out of the box the world put you in and finally choose yourself. I love you and I believe in you. I'll talk with you next week.